All right, so we got your favorite movies. Bruh. Your favorite movies are CIA
There's a
propaganda. I don't
version
know.
of your favorite films and TV shows that you weren't allowed to see. Scripts were rewritten, scenes were cut, endings were changed, and characters
I
were
forgot.
altered.
I still have the
They'd
music.
stamp
I was like,
top
what?
secret on
Going
the top
schizo?
and the bottom and the sides in the margins
What?
of every single
I don't know. I just feel like cults, like, I just don't understand. I just really don't understand cults.
page.
I don't
And
know.
I said, guys, this is not top secret. This is a Hollywood movie. It's already on video. It's done.
I'm talking children's animations with rewritten endings, comedy films you've never heard of with deleted scenes, superhero franchises built in secretive contracts, and a screenwriter who tried to tell the wrong story and was found dead with both hands missing.
Okay.
It's not an accident that every Hollywood movie about the CIA is pro-CIA.
This has been running since the 1940s. What started with Walt Disney producing propaganda shorts for the military has now evolved into a formal permanent operation, one that now reaches into the biggest franchises on the planet, and
Yeah.
hasn't stopped expanding from there. When John Kiriakou, a CEI whistleblower who went to prison for exposing the torture program, was asked on the Diary of a CEO how the agency would hypothetically design an influence campaign, this was his answer.
You would have to have a goal that would be specific enough that you could actually track the progress to it. It has to be a message. You've got to be able to get a specific, well-honed message out there. And the message
Okay.
can be anything. It could be, love the CIA, we're the good guys. It could be support the overthrow of the Iranian government. It could be, any criticism of Benjamin Netanyahu is anti-Semitism. It could
Whoa,
be anything
okay.
you want it to be. You just have to make sure that it's repeated enough.
He mentions a couple of things there that are highly relevant right now. Take Argo, an Oscar-winning film that almost everyone has heard of.
But the thing is, like, brother, like, I don't want to see these movies anyways. Like, what if you don't consume these type of movies? Like, then who are these movies reaching out to? The people who are like liking that genre. I don't really like that genre too
The
much.
plot
Like,
follows a CIA officer who poses as a Hollywood producer to smuggle six
then it's just propaganda, but like,
American
I
diplomats
don't
out
know.
of Iran, all during the 1979 hostage crisis.
To be
As you can imagine,
influenced
the CIA
by
is
it? I don't know.
unambiguously the hero. There's barely a single mention of the CIA's overthrow of Iran's democratically elected government, or the installing of a dictator who ruled with a secret police force trained by the CIA. And given the current conflict in Iran, you could reasonably argue that the public's understanding of who Iran is and how we got there was influenced in part by films exactly like this. During filming, Affleck visited CIA headquarters multiple times, sat in round tables in the director's conference room, and even emailed the agency promising to do the agency proud. The CIA had actually been promoting the Argo operation as a suggested movie plot on their own website years before the film was made, and even thanked Affleck publicly on Twitter for the film. Affleck said this when interviewed as part of the press tour.
Are there many actors in Hollywood who also moonlight as agents, do you think?
I think there are probably quite a few, yes. I think probably Hollywood is full of CIA agents, and we just don't know it.
But Argo's only the surface, and you'll be shocked about where exactly the strategy operates in
Iron
Hollywood,
Man?
the films it touches,
oh,
and how
I mean, I
smart
kind of
it
believe
truly
Iron Man.
is.
Animal form, I've never seen that.
Take the original script for the Hulk. The canon
Okay.
storyline, as per the comic, involved Bruce Banner being transformed after a US military program gone wrong. It also included dialogue referencing Operation Ranch Hand, a real program that sprayed roughly 20 million gallons of chemical herbicides, including Agent Orange over Southeast Asia, poisoning a possible 4 million people. Both details were removed purposefully by CIA advisors.
Makes
This is
sense.
according to leaked files seen by The Conversation. They then changed the origin story to a lab experiment gone wrong instead because they couldn't risk anti-government sentiments in a franchise of this size. In the Transformers films, a Pentagon liaison inserted specific dialogue instead of removing it. In one scene just after
I just think, like, if America can do propaganda, then everybody can. I mean, I don't think it's like, you know,
troops had been
like,
attacked by a deception robot, he added the line "Bring him home" to reinforce
just
US
not,
military
like,
values.
something
Numerous
crazy, you
superhero
know?
films, including practically the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is the single biggest franchise in history, were all built on this from the ground up. Captain Marvel was granted full Air Force support. The Air Force
same thing like China, like, you know, all their stuff is heavily propagandized. So it's like we don't have no control. You know,
was
it's like
advertising the film on social media.
what
before
can we
Marvel
do
had even
really?
started
This is
marketing it. Captain Marvel and Black Panther were both used directly in recruitment campaigns. The result was
Wait,
a documented
recruitment?
spike in female applicants to the Air Force Academy. They literally called it
Okay.
the Captain Marvel effect. On Iron Man, which was massively supported by the Pentagon,
I didn't think I watched Captain Marvel and be like, yeah, I would have joined the military. I don't know. I don't think I just like the movie. I just like Marvel movies. Like I just think
$1 billion worth of
people do what they want to do. And if you want to
equipment.
join the military, go ahead. Like
there were literally fights on set between the directors and the agency. A Pentagon liaison, Phil Strubb, objected to a line in which a military character says, "People would kill themselves for the opportunities I have." The director, John, pushed back, and soon they were standing on the flight lines at Edwards Air Force Base with 200 crew watching. They eventually settled on they'd walk over hot coals, but even then, that didn't make the final cut. But a much
Okay.
weirder example is Meet the Parents, when Ben Stiller's character walks into Robert De Niro's workplace. In the original script, he finds CIA torture manuals. That was rewritten. Now he finds photos of De Niro meeting Bill Clinton. IMDb credits Chase Brandon as a technical advisor and Milt Bearden
Yeah.
as consultant CIA on the film, which you can see here. These examples just cover what we know for certain from a leak of 60,000 pages of documents, which confirmed the CIA has been involved in more than 2,500 productions in total. The Pentagon runs something called the Entertainment Media Office, a formal liaison operation that works directly with Hollywood studios. They support studios financially, offer advice on sensitive topics, and lend them specialist equipment and prime filming locations.
okay, see that's kind of crazy though, because isn't that kind of like a monopoly?
In exchange for permissions, the CIA get to read and approve the script before a single frame is shot. They also have complete veto power, and directors are obliged to follow their word. One
That's
Pentagon
crazy.
minder said on
But then again, indie films can be like
record, "If they don't
You know.
do what I say, I take my toys and go away." A declassified CIA document released in 2019 all but confirms
know.
that, logging dozens of meetings between the CIA's Office of Public Affairs and executives from NBC, Time Warner, Viacom, Fox, Paramount, and CAA. The document covers just 2 years from 2014 to 2016. It includes lunches, development deals on campus filming approvals,
That makes sense.
and meetings
Okay.
to develop CIA-themed TV shows. The CIA has all
I mean, the thing is like, yeah, sure, it can be made for the intent to recruit people, but like, I just in general don't want to be part of like the CIA or military in
always
general. Like
claimed
that's
it merely
just
answers
that's just
requests
kinda my
on an
right, I
as-needed
guess.
basis. The document shows
Like,
active outreach.
I don't know.
The agency is going to the studios, not the other way around. But you have to stretch back much further to find out when this all began. Because when one of George Orwell's most important works was adapted into a movie, the CIA had the final say over its closing moments. That film is Animal Farm, a classic anti-establishment.
Well, what about the films that are like exposing the government and stuff? Like what's that one film like Jon Snow or something like?
Story
I
about
don't know.
rebelling against power. After Orwell died, the film's rights to Animal Farm were purchased by two men, and both were
Wait.
undercover CIA agents. This was in 1954, the height of the Cold War and the Red Scare, when the fear of communism was at its peak. The CIA
Okay.
funded the entire animation. They hired British animators, deliberately avoiding American studios to create distance, and because the agency distrusted Hollywood animators during the Red Scare, and they rewrote the ending. In Orwell's book, the animals look through the farmhouse window and can't tell the pigs from the humans. The line says, quote, "The creatures outside looked from pig to man, and from pig to man, and from pig to man again, but already it was impossible to say which was which." This is the whole point. Revolution replaces one set of oppressors with another. Capitalism and communism are equally corrupt. The CIA couldn't have that message going out, so their version
Yeah.
ends with the animals triumphantly overthrowing the pigs in a second revolution. Communism bad, rebellion good, America wins by implication. See, watch how they storm the building and how it doesn't imply the same message as the book at all. It's subtle, but the new version reinforces the division between good and bad. It creates a moral precedent that corrupt systems can be overthrown and replaced with something better, which is a really comforting thought, unless you realize it's exactly the story the CIA tells every time it topples a government. Orwell's ending says the opposite, that power corrupts regardless of who holds it, and that revolution just replaces one set of oppressors with another. The director Joy Batchelor strongly opposed.
I mean, this is just classic Britain. Like, they're gonna think both are corrupt because they think their own system's like better. Like, it's just classic.
So, the CIA threatened to pull financing. The
With, like,
intelligence officer
a
E. Howard
monarchy,
Hunt
like, that's
later became
classic, bro.
involved in the Watergate scandal.
Like, every government has their own issues, and
Said
it's
the
just
film was,
like,
quote, carefully tweaked to
look what's going on with Britain right now,
heighten
bro.
the anti-communist message. Although it was originally aimed at adults,
You
Animal
get
Farm
you get
found its
slimed
primary
out
audience in school over the
for
US and
tweeting
Europe.
something.
By
Like,
then,
it's
the
crazy,
state
bro.
and media were already deeply intertwined. Governments had correctly identified that the media was the best way to access the minds of the public. Generations of children were shown a CIA-funded film with a CIA rewritten ending, as if this was a faithful adaptation of Orwell. So you may not be surprised to learn that Disney was the testing ground for how effective propaganda could be. While it might be hard to believe today, Disney was actually going broke, and the government
Okay.
offered it a deal. They accepted, and within 2 years, over 90% of Disney's output, mostly propaganda, was government content.
Okay.
Disney characters found their way into all sorts of government materials, including 1,200
Then again, it was a different time back then, you know? Like, it was different
military
times.
insignia. Walt Disney
They were
even
literally going through a war. Like, I can see where this was a little bit realistic.
personally
Like,
designed this terrifying Mickey Mouse gas mask,
That's
or to
crazy.
make children less afraid
That's
during
cra-
air raids.
well, here's the thing. I actually think that this is not a bad idea because they were living in a time of fear and of war, and you know, we're lucky enough to so far not be alive during an actual like war, like being part of like actual war and fears of like, oh, there's gonna be a fucking plane dropping bombs on my house any second, you know? Like, I think it's different when you're actually part of that time period and the ways humans are gonna like take measures to kind of protect themselves. So I feel like a Mickey Mouse gas mask for kids, like, it's just trying to make sure the kids are, you know, at least, you know, like their gas mask, I guess.
If you
like,
look at Disney films through the ages,
I don't
like
know.
Snow White, The Incredibles, and Frozen, they're often said to carry some level of deliberate messaging. In a conversation between Theo Von and Robert Greene, the guy who wrote the 48 Laws of Power, Greene said they offer a singular worldview that runs through most Western mainstream media. While modern society came to describe this phenomena as woke, the more important aspect is the consent it manufactures.
And what angered me about Hollywood, people pretending to be these liberal, wonderful people in favor of all the best causes out there to create art. What bullshit. They wanted power. They loved having the power over people. You know, they would drop the woke stuff tomorrow if they could make more money doing something else. It's
That's
just
true, though.
about
This is also
what's gonna
true.
Bring the bucks in.
Someone upstream decides what the acceptable worldview is, and the media is passed accordingly. The Pentagon did it with military values. The CIA did it with anti-communism. Hollywood does it now with whatever sells. The
Yeah,
product
I mean,
always looks
it's-
like entertainment and not ideology. These are films watched by billions, not just in the West, but worldwide. So this is also a matter of the image the world superpowers want to project. Soft
You know,
power-
I also do forget that the films are released worldwide. You know, I guess because I just live in, you know, the United States. I
has
don't know.
always mattered.
But I
enormously
do
to the
forget
West.
that, though.
Huge military, invincible superheroes, perfect moral values, intelligence agencies that can do anything they please and always win. Now, you might be wondering what happens if someone breaks ranks and goes against the grain. Whether it's possible to subvert the CIA and inform the public
Wait, but you do have that,
of
though.
the truth. Well, there has
You do have superheroes and stuff that do go against the good guys.
been at least one occasion when someone tried to do exactly that. He was Gary DeVore, a Hollywood screenwriter with major credits on Schwarzenegger's Raw Deal, Christopher Walken's The Dog of War, and Backroads with Tommy Lee Jones and Sally Field. He was deep into a script idea that even his own wife didn't fully understand until after he was gone.
When I first moved in with Gary, he said to me, "Don't be alarmed if you get a call from a person from a government agency. Just take their name down and their number and don't be worried about it."
That's crazy.
In the first 4 years, there were 2 calls. And then, not too long before he actually disappeared.
I feel like if I get one call from the CIA, I'm instantly folding. I'm not gonna lie.
There were
Like,
several.
I'm telling whoever they say that's Underwatch, I'm telling them to like, brother, it's either this or that. Choose.
The
Like,
CIA at Langley.
It was
I'm
called
not
The
gonna lie.
Big Steal, set during the US
That's
invasion
crazy.
of Panama. A friend of his, Hollywood director John Irvin, had lunch with Gary a few weeks before he disappeared. He could
But then
tell
they-
that something was off.
yeah,
troubled. Something was bothering him. He wasn't really in the conversation. He was having trouble with the script he was writing, which he talked about more about not the script, but about a government very, very sensitive, inconvenient truth. He was speaking more as a journalist than he was as a screenwriter. He
Okay.
was talking as an investigator.
A researcher who later investigated the case, called Dr. Matthew Alford, eventually uncovered what Gary had found, and it's really dark.
The dictator of Panama, Manuel Noriega, made secret recordings
okay.
in wired rooms of senior US officials having sex
Um,
with underage prostitutes, male and female.
yeah, I mean, we kind of know that they do this.
British newspaper commented on this, and the story was then buried. And the guy who wrote it got shot by an anonymous sniper.
That's
Gary
crazy.
planned to put that in a Hollywood film. He was driving home through the desert, and then that was the last anyone
Yeah, if you thought Hollywood was gonna prove that, then I don't know.
heard
Like,
from him.
And he said, I'll see you later.
that's
I
just
never heard
kind
from him
of.
again.
It's like Gary DeVore simply vanished into thin air.
There was a massive search, foot patrols, helicopters, 100.
But then again, that is pretty crazy. Like, we know the government does shady shit all the time, and GG, I'm probably gonna get an EMP on my house
$1,000
if I
reward,
keep
but
talking.
zero
so.
leads and no witnesses. He was missing for 374 days, but then his Ford Explorer was found beneath 15 feet of muddy water at the bottom of the California aqueduct. Despite the aqueduct having been searched extensively, his laptop containing the script was missing, his gun was
Damn.
missing, and his hands were missing.
Damn, that's
Why
crazy.
were his hands cut off?
Listen, the man had his fingers removed. Why?
Yeah.
In my own mind, feel that there is crime here. I do not feel that my husband drove off of this bridge.
Within a week of his disappearance, agents from the FBI, CIA, NSA, and DoD arrived at the family home. After an official went into his office, his computer was wiped. And here's
That's
an unlikely
crazy.
connection to Meet the Parents and other films years later. It was Chase Brandon, the CIA's entertainment industry liaison officer, who was
Dude,
among
that's an
those
actual title?
at the
What?
scene. When Alfred started digging into the case years later, he received a warning to stop what he was doing and leave well alone.
You know, of course, you've received an informal or semi-formal warning
That's
from
crazy.
a CIA and DoD contractor who said to you, back off the CIA, you're going too far with this now. These people can and will ruin your life and come knocking on mine and your doors.
A former White House
Damn.
official from the Reagan and George Bush administrations confirmed that DeVore harbored a deep-rooted relationship with the agency and considered the case as the hallmarks of a cover-up. The CIA declined to comment on the entire situation, and the case officially remains open. So that's the other side of the coin. What potentially happens when the CIA's veto isn't obeyed? We don't really know the truth of what happened, but it does show you that
Yeah.
you should mess around with topics not sanctioned by the agency. As for the impacts this all
Yeah,
has,
and then, you can't really talk out against when you're in China, too. So it's just kind of like, it's all
society, Theo and Joe
whatever.
Rogan were very perceptive about how it can change public perception.
True.
So in World War one of the problems that they had was people didn't want to be over there killing people.
Yeah.
And so people were shooting, but they weren't shooting at the actual enemy. And so then they realized, well, we've got to do something about that. And so after that, they started creating all these really patriotic war movies where the guys are heroes, they go over and they shoot all the bad guys, and then they're awesome. So then the next group of people that go to war are all
Damn.
going to be indoctrinated with these films.
John Kiriakou thinks that nowhere has that indoctrination
I don't know if that's true either. Because like I said, like, movies to me are just entertainment. And I'm not going to be like,
be more effective.
Although I will not be surprised if I was influenced by Call of Duty, brother. Because, like, if we go out there, brother, we're going to have trick shots. We're gonna have like all of that, bro.
All more dangerous
The
than
phase
involving the
members.
population
Oh
up to
yeah,
the
it's
idea of
GG. It's
torture.
GG, bro.
The thing that bothers me the most is when Hollywood perpetuates
Especially now with technology, you could use a fucking Xbox controller to actually control drones. Oh, it's
the
GG, bro.
myth that torture prevented acts of terrorism or disrupted acts of terrorism. And to me, that myth is dangerous in that it affects public opinion. You can put whatever euphemism you want on it. You can call it enhanced interrogation technique. I don't care what you call it. What we did to some of those people was just illegal.
Kyriakou would know. He's the only CIA officer who ever went to prison over the torture program.
I objected to the CIA's use of so-called enhanced interrogation techniques, which I believe to be torture. And I went public with that information in December of 2007. All this time, by the way, I'm waiting for somebody to come out and say something. And nobody said anything. As a result, I was prosecuted and served 30 months in prison. But I'm glad I did. Somebody had to do it.
This is especially true in the film Zero Dark 30, which is about capturing Osama bin Laden. John Kyriakou thinks it's the strongest example of making the CIA look clean from every angle.
Zero Dark 30. So Zero Dark 30, I think, is the most egregious example of CIA interference in Hollywood.
The CIA gave the filmmakers classified briefings over a classified mock-up of the bin Laden compound. The film essentially pushed at the torture program as what led them to bin Laden. Kyriakou says that's a complete lie.
This was a film that the CIA made a policy decision on that it was going to cooperate fully, to the point where senior CIA officers gave them inappropriately classified briefings over a classified mock-up of the bin Laden compound. Okay, that's chargeable under the Espionage Act. The CIA just turned it over. Why? Because it made the CIA look good.
In real life, intelligence work is...
I mean, we don't know that for sure, though. Like, they could have, like, signed something, some other veto type of thing to, like, or, like, something for... In case this happens, you can so-and-so sign this over to so-and-so, you know? We don't know that for sure, but...
ambiguous.
Yeah,
Mainstream
I think
TV and
those
cinema
claims
don't
are
need to
kind
be
of crazy.
accurate. They just need to feel right and not leave the audience with too many lingering questions or ambiguity. They pick up on this exact point in the podcast.
Even though they are torturing people. Now, entire population is so kind of almost like brainwashed into, but they are good guys, so torture is okay,
Right.
as long as good guys are doing it.
Well, that was the narrative.
And they've got so desensitized towards doing bad shit. And if it's the CIA or if it's Tom Cruise or if it's like Mission Impossible and they're doing bad shit and they're torturing people, that's okay. Like now the message is that's okay, you don't worry about it.
So desensitization and controlling the narrative are central to this whole strategy. But there are deeper
we
layers
just
to
don't know
promoting and
context.
suppressing films. The CIA's venture capital arm In-Q-Tel, literally named after Q from James Bond, has been funding tech companies since 1999. Google bought an In-Q-Tel.
It's just so brain dead. We just don't know context. Like, it's a movie, yeah. So we don't know for sure if it actually happened, but like, saying like torture, like, how do I want to say this, bro?
Funded mapping startup called Keyhole that became Google Earth.
Torture techniques against terrorists. I mean, go ahead. Like, go ahead.
In-Q-Tel and Google then
You know?
jointly invested in a company that builds predictive analytics by mining web data. Palantir was one of their earliest investments. The CIA had established an entire directorate of digital innovation specifically to engage Silicon Valley. So it's all linked together and practically operates in plain sight. Theo Von told Green a story about bumping into a construction worker at Century City Mall in LA.
Yo, what's up? So I start talking to him, and he's like, dude, guess what we're building? I'm like, I don't know. You know, I thought maybe it could have been like a Hardee's or something. He's like, we're building like a 20-story building, and 10 floors of it are the CIA, and the other 10 floors are a management company, Hollywood Management.
Theo was mixing up the CIA and CAA, Creative Artists Agency, Hollywood's most powerful talent firm, but Green made it sound like the real thing was even worse.
And you go to that building, and they call it like the Death Star. There are like, you know, politicians who are being represented by CAA, athletes, tech bros, influencers. It's pretty frightening though when you go inside. It's almost like Scientology.
Like Scientology?
Hollywood's version of Scientology.
He's describing high-level ongoing talks at the intersection of the media, government, and big tech, all in a building lovingly called the Death Star. So you can now see how this whole influence campaign is far bigger than...
Go to downtown, wherever your closest downtown is, brother. You're gonna see media companies, oil and gas companies, like literally all these big companies, and like it's the same thing what they're doing. Like
lines in Marvel movies.
Just because they're like Hollywood, like whatever, they can't have their own building to do their own thing.
Relies
like,
on cross-collaboration between multiple arms of state and private power. And the product hasn't stopped at the cinema. It's been actively following the audience, which means you, wherever you go, including online.
Do you think the CIA have a strategy for podcasters and for podcasting?
I think yes, now they do. It took them a little while to get current, but just like they over time developed a strategy with Hollywood, sure, they're developing a strategy with podcasters.
This strategy is consolidating as we speak, which will only make it easier for agencies like the CIA to wield greater control over the narratives. Larry Ellison, whose company Oracle now hosts TikTok US algorithm and controls its content moderation, just bought Paramount through his son David. And if their bid for Warner Bros. And Discovery goes through, you can add CNN, HBO, Warner Brothers, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, MTV.
I mean, yeah, we've been new this. All these companies are
Comedy
connected.
Central,
like,
Discovery, TLC, TBS, and TNT to that list. An internal memo obtained by NPR confirmed the Ellison-led entity will control what's allowed and what's not on the platform. Bernie Sanders called it oligarchy, and Oracle which and what's not on.
TikTok signs a deal to give U.S. operations to Oracle-led investor groups
on the platform. Bernie Sanders called it oligarchy, and Oracle, which sits underneath all of this, has held government contracts with.
I mean, it just kind of makes sense. All right, look for like Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. Elon Musk single-handedly has the potential to persuade your whole feed, right? But then again, it's his platform. So I feel like it wouldn't be crazy to say TikTok is influenced like by one person. Or if they sign the rights, it could be influenced by another person. So it's like, it's their own platform. If you don't like it, delete it.
The
like,
CIA and the Department of
it's
Defense
crazy.
For decades.
Same thing for YouTube.
Whatever you call it, the media pipeline is now shorter than it's ever been, and in fewer hands. There's a through line from Donald Duck selling war bonds to Captain Marvel, selling Air Force recruitment to Google Earth.
I mean, come on. Again with the Captain Marvel, brother. I've not been inspired by that movie.
Location has never been broken. The methods
if anything, that movie wasn't that good, honestly.
Direct propaganda, covert funding, script consultations, structural incentives, venture capital, and digital surveillance. But the principle itself hasn't changed. Get the message right, make sure it's repeated enough, and eventually nobody questions this anymore. And if you've seen what happens when someone steps outside that system, a screenwriter at the bottom of a canal with no hands, a researcher warned to back off before they ruin his life, maybe then you understand why so few people ever try. It's not a theory about Hollywood, but a description of what 60,000 pages of declassified documents confirm has already happened, and is still happening, to the stories you grew up on. The truth is, we simply don't know how deep this rabbit hole really goes, enough to maintain a thin veneer of authenticity. Like we saw in this recent video we did on the CIA compromising podcasts, the rabbit hole truly goes deep. In any case, the strategies employed by the CIA and the government to influence the media are not theoretical, and they don't spend millions on them for no reason. So ask yourself, when you're next watching your favorite films and TV shows, can you really take them—
Wait. Literally this comment. Hold on. The good guys does literally everything they excuse the bad guys of doing, but secretly. I mean, kind of true. Let's see. The next Moon videos is gonna be why the CIA is the best agency to ever exist. That's crazy, bro. No, literally though. Honestly, W video though. Great awareness. If you don't know about this stuff like this, then
Oracle now
you should definitely know. But I already kind of knew a little bit. But yeah, W video, W reaction, bro. Just keep it rolling.